Hi, it's Melissa from Special Ed Law Mom, and this is part 4 about the transition failures that happened with our daughter. I just wanted to give some final thoughts on that, some things I may have forgotten to say, and some things that have happened since then, just to give you a quick update. So the first thing I wanted to say and everything I have said in all of my videos can be supported by this binder right here, two IDEA state complaints that we prevailed on, and an OCR complaint with over 150 exhibits that's sitting at the Office of Civil Rights. We're waiting to hear if that will be investigated. So again, nothing that I say can really be disputed. Anything that I mention here, I will try to put links below for you to verify if you need to of things that have happened in board meetings since with our school district. Just want to put those clarifications out there. I am not an attorney. I am not giving you legal advice. I'm just sharing my experience. So, the first thing that comes to mind is I mentioned in, I think, part 1 that transition dialogue in Utah does not begin until age 16. IDEA actually talks about it beginning at age 14. So I am not sure what happened with the one or two IEP meetings that we had before the meeting that we had with Jordan School District, where we were told that they don't provide anything. They just put us in contact with community resources. So there were obviously failures prior to that. Of course, IDEA only lets us pursue things 2 years back. And so it's too late for us to do that. Secondly, I would advise you if you're getting the runaround on any kind of issue, and looking back at this, we should have dealt with this sooner. You need to exercise your procedural safeguards and your dispute resolution options. We were trying to work with the school system. We were trying to put forth a good effort, despite every month having a meeting and having it really go nowhere because there seemed to be a carrot dangling of a possible settlement or something that they would do, which always led to something they would do after graduation, which was free to them. And we really should have pursued things sooner. So I know that we like to keep relations positive. We think that that's how we're going to get the most that we can for our kids. And I know that it's difficult when we're fighting the school on our kids because whether we like to think about it or not, things can get taken out on our kids. Teachers are frustrated, that kind of thing. But you really should exercise your rights as soon as you see that there's an ongoing problem. All right. One thing I did not mention prior to settlement with them, they actually proposed in a prior written notice that as part of the compensatory education for our daughter, that she return back to high school. Now, in part 2, I mentioned to you that in our January IEP meeting, the LEA, which is the person in charge of that meeting, flat out denied allowing our daughter to have a certificate of completion or a credit deficit, saying, no, it's not going to happen. We asked for prior written notice. We got one that was incomplete, and they never would provide a second one with the excuse that the dialogue was premature for graduation. They needed more time to see how things were going to play out, all of that. Then they decided, once I filed a state complaint, to issue a prior written notice stating that our daughter would graduate with a regular diploma and not invite us to that meeting. All of that is in part 2. If you've seen it, great. If you haven't, go back and watch it. Um, but one of the things that happened in that window of time from January to when we got the notice that our daughter would graduate without allowing us to participate in that dialogue was their attorney sent a letter in February stating that it would be detrimental not to let our daughter graduate. She had earned the credits and it would be detrimental to her to not allow her to graduate, and that even if she failed a required course, she would graduate. So it was insulting when they make her go through all of that. We celebrate, we try to make the best of it. You've graduated, we're going to move on, all these great things for them to decide that the compensatory ed that they're going to offer is for our daughter to go back to high school. And why? Because they don't have a program for her. and they didn't want to pay for a program for her to go somewhere. So instead, let's just have the school bus show up to your house, Mrs. Wallace, pick your daughter up so she can go back to high school for 1 hour a day for the reading and writing help we should have given her all along. Oh, and by the way, we don't really know how to calculate FAPE or take data or do any of that, but you should expect, you should be okay with her going back to high school with one of our teachers to do that as her compensatory ed. Really? Yeah, that was pretty disgusting. Um, I mentioned in my part 3 video that I think it was like 5 days after we settled, that they put in there, they updated their special ed handbook to now include a certificate of completion as one of their diploma options. What I did not mention was in that board meeting where they did that, which was September 5th, 2023, Canyons District Board meeting. Again, I'll put links down below. They actually state that the state of Utah had updated their special ed policy to include that in November of 2022, all during the time that we were fighting for this, and that they, under their board policy, were required to update their their documents to match, and that they had to do that by October 1st of 2023. So the entire time we were fighting them, they already had been updated with the state, and they were obligated to update their documents. Um, but they didn't do it until 5 days after we settled. Wasn't that nice of them? Another thing, they just had um, a meeting last night on the 17th, and they were very proud to talk about all of their graduation rates and how those have improved since 2015. And they list out different classifications of students, English as second language learner or multi-language learners, and they have special ed on there. And the special ed graduation rates are close to 80%. Imagine that, 80%. That doesn't account, they don't specify how many kids dropped out or got their GED. But 80% of special ed kids graduate, and they emphasized in there, multiple people did, both on the board and the superintendent in that recording, which I will put below, that they hope to get that to 100%. Now, I'm sorry, but this is supposed to be an individualized education for a student, and you're not teaching transition, and you're not teaching life skills. You're cherry picking who you give it to the smallest and the most severe kids, and you're throwing all the other kids out there to graduate. So while that number may look really great, it doesn't take into account the fact that you are excluding kids and forcing kids such as my daughter to graduate when you haven't met your requirements under IDEA. So you can go ahead and celebrate that all that you want, but I'm going to be exposing that till the cows come home. The other thing I wanted to say, they had a meeting in September 5th of 23, school board meeting, where the special ed director and the person who's over the transition academy were petitioning the board to have a larger facility for the transition academy, because get this, they have 63 kids in their 18 to 22 program, and they really need a different facility to house them. They had gone somewhere, I think one of the board members mentioned going from like 40 something to 63, and they really needed a bigger spot. Now, that's a 3-year program, so it's hard to decipher how many of those kids are from each year that get entered into that program. But let's just say that that program was just those 63 kids were just the kids that had just graduated. Our district should have hundreds of kids, if not over 1,000, that have IEPs that graduate each year. And they have 63 in a 3-year program for post high. So even if we just said it's not a 3-year program, it's a 1-year program, okay? 63, and you let's just say that that was 10%. This is kind of hard to explain, but let's say they had 630 kids with IEPs that graduated. That would mean that 63 of them equals 10% of their students make it into a post-high program. I'm sorry, but there are more kids than that need help. And again, that's a 3-year program, not a 1-year. So you've got kids that graduated years prior and whatnot. It's just truly pathetic. I'm also frustrated with the State Board of Education. The decisions that they made in regards to our state complaints, while great, I have no idea how they figured out the calculations for the comp ed. It's as if they gave 1 hour a week for the life skills failures. If my daughter had been in a life skills class, she would have been in there at least twice a week on an AB schedule, sometimes 3 times a week, and that would have been for an hour and a half per class period. So, how we came up with 1 hour a week that they failed, I don't understand. They also ordered the compensatory ed and the training for the district staff, but they didn't order any compliance monitoring. So there's no reason for the district to change anything because no compliance monitoring was ordered. It was just, we'll sit you in a little webinar and teach you about IDEA that you should already know. Um, so those are my thoughts on the transition piece. I will say it is difficult to find services to help a child like mine. She's higher functioning, but she needs the help. And she's in this catch of I can't think of the word I want to use where she needs the help, but the programs that are available are for the lower functioning kids. Thankfully, we have the resources with the settlement and with me having employment that is flexible to the detriment of our family. It affects our income potential. For me to drive her around to different things, to therapies, to programs, to coordinate all of these things. We have that ability, but a lot of families don't have that, and it shouldn't be that way. And everyone that I talk to in the community tells me that their programs are for the lower functioning kids, or one of the programs that she's going to, that the school systems only send the lower functioning kids because that's the only kids that they allow into their post-high program, or that there's a great need in the community and they need people to be willing to teach life skills. They're just not out there. So, as a mom who loves my kid and who loves special needs kids and who sees a need, I'm actually looking at creating a curriculum, a life skills curriculum. I've been putting one together and possibly teaching classes because there's nothing out there or it's very limited. And if you do find it, you have to pay for it, which a lot of families, don't have the resources to pay for expensive things. So if you're interested in anything like that, leave a comment down below. I'd love to hear your comments, love to hear your thoughts on all of this. It's just really pathetic what has happened, but if we can shine a light on it, maybe it'll help another kid. So that's my thoughts. Thanks for watching, and until next time, make it a great day. Bye.